Oh, both. I thought clearly we were in the game right till the end, and we could have snatched it. But with full credit to West Coast, I thought they were terrific tonight. Though a couple of what looked to be serious injuries, and obviously the Crow went down, and Gaff was subbed into the game early when Maston hurt himself. So to be two down and run the game out the way they did, I thought was full credit to them. Where we sat, I thought it was a brave effort. To come over, it's never easy coming to Perth round one, and when your number one ruckman, your only ruckman, gets sick the night before the game, it makes it tough. But Cameron Pedersen stood in, and in his first game of AFL footy, I thought he acquitted himself really well. So, I thought it was both. I thought it was brave by our guys, but terrific from West Coast. I thought they were really impressive and showed a lot of character.
How did the ruck duel play out? You think obviously they were dominant at the hit outs. Peterson
53-18's dominant.
Yeah.
Yep.
Peterson gave you quite a lot around the ground.
Yeah, I thought he competed really well. I mean, clearly when you've got 193 centimetre ruckman rucking against a 204 centimetre All-Australian ruckman, it's always going to be a challenge. So, we had to alter a few things to try and nullify that. And, I thought he competed really well for us. But Cox is a class act, and, on the back of a really good preparation, he played well, as he probably should have, against the non-ruckman he was playing on. But I thought our midfield held their own in there, but in the end they just overpowered us.
Was it a case of their pressure and their zoning sort of causing turnovers in bad parts of the ground?
No, nothing to do with that. When you've got a player of Cox's ability down the line, it's very difficult to try and kick long to a contest when you know where he is. So trying to bypass him was difficult. The way the game's played now, when you haven't got those key forwards and those ruckmen that you can kick the ball to, you get our kicks gone. So they planned that quite well. I thought they set up really well, but we weren't able to work our way through effectively enough. I thought we had a pretty good plan for it, but we didn't execute it well enough.
How did your players cope with the heat? At three-quarter time, you had a rotation up your sleeve, and you had a slight lead.
Yeah.
Did they suffer in the end? Did you lack a bit of run, do you think, in the last quarter?
No, I thought both sides were out on their feet, so I thought the heat was exactly the same for both sides. I don't think it advantaged one side or the other.
Robbie Tarrant looks a promising prospect. Must be good to see him out of the park after.
Yeah, he is. He's had a tough start to his AFL career with 3 shoulder reconstructions, but he's really starting to. We've earmarked him to play a key post in defence for us, and I thought he went quite well. Josh Kennedy's a player I rate really highly, so he held his own on him.
Harvey was quiet today. We saw him have a really quiet game last season and bounce back the next week.
Yeah.
A similar outcome.
11 or so, dozen or so possessions and a goal is a poor game by Boomer standards these days. So that's more a reflection of what he's done in the past. But don't take anything away from Adam Selwood. I thought Adam Selwood did a really good job on him.
How do you rate Jack Eagles' return from that broken leg?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, he's had a full pre-season. Jack, probably won't mark it down as one of the highlights of his career, but he's still a young developing player that's had 2 broken legs in 2 years, so he's got a fair way to go in his football development. He's played, I don't know how many games he's played now, but it's around the 20 odd. So he's still a baby by AFL football standards. So he's going to be a very good player, but he's still developing.
Apart from Petrie, do you get anybody else that next week?
Well, we get Goldstein back, unless it turns into an 8-day virus, not a 24-hour virus. So, Goldstein, Grimer, Petrie, should all be available. So, we'll have a few others who are, should be available and played well in the VFL. So, when you're Goldstein, Grimer, Petrie, they're pretty handy key position players, and we're a couple short today.
What was your thinking with the timing of the substitute, Brad? Did you hold off a little bit, knowing that they were 1 down, and maybe to get a fresh player on as late as possible when they were really suffering?
Oh, well, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you put him in, the question is, who do you sub him for? If we'd waited a minute longer, we would have subbed Zeeble instead of McKinley, because Zeeble went down with bad cramp and really couldn't come back on. So, but we chose to sub McKinley, and then Zeeble went down. So our thinking was hold it back as long as we could and try and decide who to sub off. In hindsight, we got it wrong, but it's a very difficult decision to make.
So basically, in the end, you're almost in the same boat as West Coast with the two on the bench. It was almost level like last week.
Yep.
Looking ahead to next week, it doesn't get much tougher than Collingwood. How do you embrace the challenge?
Oh, well, we had a clear objective at the start of the year to bridge the gap between the top 4 or 5 sides and where we were. So this is our first opportunity against the reigning premiers. You know, the top 4 from last year beat us pretty convincingly, and Collingwood were one of those. So we'll get a really good opportunity to have a crack at them on our home ground, and what's a home game for us. And you know, I thought our boys far from disgraced themselves today under very trying circumstances. So you know, we'll dust ourselves off and get ready for a huge challenge. And you know, guys are up for it. You know, we're really looking forward to it, and getting in front of our fans for the first time in the year in a huge game against Collingwood at Etihad. So you know, we'll bounce back. We'll get some players back in, and you know, we'll front up again.
Daniel Wells in his 150 looked to be moving very smoothly.
Yeah. Wellesley was good without being outstanding. So he's had a good preparation. Yeah, he's moving really, really well. So he's set for a really good year. But you know, unfortunately, there are a few guys who play well today, but we just didn't have an even enough contribution. And you know, West Coast had a pretty even contribution, and when they lost a couple of players, others stood up. So we just need to get a bit more of an even spread in terms of contribution from our players.
Lockie Hansen copped a really big hit to the shoulder, appeared to be favouring it quite a bit late in the game. Is he okay? And are you okay other than him on the injury front?
I don't know how he's pulled up. I think he'll be fine. But you know, he's had a shoulder before, so every time he gets it knocked, you know, sometimes it jars and it worries him. But you know, he never misses a game because of it, so he'll be fine.
Will you be tempted to make some changes next week purely because of the conditions your players?
No, not at all. We took really good precautions. The players recovered really well. They're professional athletes these days. I mean, we'll get home as quickly as we can and recover well, and it'll have no bearing on selection next week.